Okay, so you guys are welcome, and this is Darko Lab, and today we are looking at encapsulation. Yesterday we looked at some key aspect of encapsulation, which is private variables, protected variables, and also public variables. How we can set these things so that our program becomes solid in terms of assessing these kind of variables. You need to protect some, you need to make some private, and you need to make sure that some are also public, and all these things will help in designing robust, maintainable, and reusable code. So that's the whole point of encapsulation: hiding some, protecting some, and making some public. And all these are instance variables in our classes. Okay, so basically what we are going to do is we said that is the concept of wrapping data, variables, and methods. That is the functions. So data is the variables, the methods are the functions. So you will see that inside each class, or inside each class, the instance methods you defined, you see variables there, and then inside each class you see what methods there. So you see, so when we say instance methods, this is an example of an instance method, but this is called a constructor. This is also an example of instance method, okay, but this is called a function. You get a logic? Okay, so now it restricts direct access to some of the object components, which is a means of preventing accidental interference and misuse of the data. Okay, so basically what we mean here is that we are trying to at the same time we are trying to set some restrictions. At the same time, we are trying to make sure that we are protecting some data. And in that sense, we are making sure that we are encapsulating our program, our code, our logic, so that it doesn't become accessible to any part of the program or any part of the person. So that's how the whole idea of this encapsulation is. And we call something public, protected, private variables, or access modifiers. So you can say these variables are either access modifiers or they are private, protected, and private variables. So anyhow you use it, you are good to go. Now we did look at what we call class person, and inside this class person we define our constructor, and our constructor we pass two parameters. So our parameters was name and age, and you already understand the self, which I always tell you it can be any name, but for good practice always use self. Now we are building a constructor and ensuring we have public variables that can be used anywhere. Okay, so this tells you that with self.name equal to name, self.age equal to age, these are public variables which are instance of these methods in this particular instance of this class. Okay, which is very simple. This public variables relates to this instance method, which is a constructor, and this instance method relates to the class called person. So if you want to access any instance variable like name, like age, inside this constructor or inside this instance method, then what you need to do is, because this has been set as a public variable or public instance variable, you are good to go to use it anywhere or access it and use it anywhere, because it is a public variable. Okay, once you set it like this, it means it is a public variable and anyone can access it. All right, I guess this is clear now. So that is why we set our constructor. So this is just a docstring. So if you're a new beginner, this is just a docstring. When you follow the previous videos from one of the days, you will know that I taught this, and this is just a docstring. It helps you as a developer. It helps you to define and set what actually this particular function is doing. So any developer who reads your codes understands what this particular function is going to do. You understand? So I just put in something here so you guys are clear on how you should be able to set your docstrings, and these are good practices. Okay, and then we set our instance variables, which basically we are passing two parameters here to make our argument. And in making our argument, we just set them here. And once you do it like this, self.name equal to name, then it means it's a public variable. Take it, that is it. You don't need to learn anything else. Just put this in your mind. That's it. Now what we did was sorry. What we did was we also wanted to we set our own another method. But check something. This instance method here is not inside this class. Take note. If you want it to be inside this class, you have to go back like this. Okay. Now, if I leave it like this, it's inside this class. But because we set a public method, okay, we could have let it be like this. I cut this off. Okay. So this is my class person, and inside I have my constructor with public what? Instance variable. Simple. But because we want to call the class, okay, so we created an object. Okay. And with the help of the object, let me remove the comments. Yeah. So we created an object, and for us to create an object, we just said this. But this instance method is going to help us get the name of any person within this base class person. Okay, which is basically a public variable we are going to access. We can access the name or we can access the age. But currently, let's say we are accessing the age, right? I can change this to name. So we are saying that, okay, then let's define our own function. So what I'm telling you here is that you have a class sitting somewhere, and you can define a function somewhere and use the what? And use what? The get name method to what? With the help of the object to get what? Any instance variable you want to get from that particular base class, because it's public, so you can access it anytime and anywhere. You can use it. You understand? So that's the whole idea of the public what? Variables. You see? And once we have our object, which is holding the entire data here, which these ones becomes our data variables. That is why you saw here I explained data variables. Okay, so Sami 34 becomes the data variables, right? So basically what we need to do is just print the person name. Okay, but here if I run, I think I should get an error. Oh, I've not selected my virtual environment. Sorry guys. So let me run again, connecting to the virtual environment. Why is it taking so time? Okay, it's connecting. All right. So, okay, good. So you see, so now I return only the person.age, right? Here I can also, let me put here name. Okay, because this is public, you see here was age, it should have supposed to give me an error, but because it's public, it's checking this. That's why it gave me Sami. So I can change this to age, right? And then now once I run, I should get the age of Sami. You see? So I can change this to name. So you see, I'm changing here name, but it needs to be consistent. So here needs to be name, age, sorry. So once I run this, this is how it's supposed to be programmed. Return the person.age. Then when you create your object, you get the age. So you can return name again, and you can get the name here. Okay, so this is basically public what? Variables in terms of encapsulation, which is good. You can access it anywhere. You don't have issue. Now let's look at, for developer purposes, you as a developer purpose, you want to know that, okay, with these variables I've created, is it public really, or is it private, or is it protected? And that is what I said that yesterday, that you need to use what we call the directory person, which is basically the object. Okay, so with the help of this, you would be able to know once it falls below this class, anything below this class is either protected or public. Okay, so when we come here, let's run this. So when we come here below it, we should see the name and then the what? the age and then the name, okay, because it's public. So now you can see that we have it in our what classes, in our program, that these are what public variables. Okay, now let's look at private variables. We look at the private variables, and I said that for you to set private variables, now you guys understand this, so I didn't know to go over this. For you to understand the private variables, all you need is to do what? You know, public was like this, isn't it? Public was like this, isn't it? This is public, isn't it? Now, for you to set private variables, you just use what? Underscore, underscore. That's it. The same for this one. Underscore, underscore. That's it. So these two instance variables becomes what? A private variable, which means that you can't access it outside this class. You can't access these private variables outside this class. Okay, so whatever you do, even if we created our object here and all that, we will get error because we can't access. This is a private variable outside the class. You get the logic? So we can't access it. So that is why basically if I run my directory, this one will be at the top of the class. So it tells you that as a developer, this can't be accessed outside this class, right? But we can access it using the instance methods, which I will teach you. That's our main goal for today. Okay, but we can access it using the instance methods. Using the instance methods, where we'll be using these access modifier, that's the setters and then the getters. You get the logic? Okay, so now even if I do this, I return the person dot underscore underscore name, like how we did for the public and all that here. We are not going to be able to access it because it's what is private. That's the whole point. So if I run this, you can see that these two are what? Private, but this is what? Public. So you see something. Now if I run this, I am not going to be able to access it. Person object has no attribute underscore underscore name. I can't access it outside this class. You see, but this is what? Self.gender is equal to gender. This is what? A public class. So let's say here I set this as what? Person dot what? Gender. Right? So let's run and see. So you guys see? You see I'm able to access the public one. So you see the difference here? I'm able to access the public, which the person is a male, but I'm not able to access these two instance variables. That is the main goal. You need to take note of that. So depending on how the project you are working on, as I explained to you in terms of how you define the classes and all that, you should understand how, when you are setting the instance variables and all that, which variables are protected, which ones are private, which ones are public. And based on that, you can be able to access it based on how you have programmed the code and all that. Okay. Now, so when we run, so let me remove this. Let's say it's still underscore underscore. Let's say name. Okay. If I run, I'm not going to be able to access it. Good. Now let's get our directory. So you see, it is outside the class. Person age. So you see, person this. So this is what? Private what? Variables. Okay. This is private variables. It's outside this class, which means that you can't access it outside this class. Simple as that. Okay. Now let's go to the last one, which was protected. Now with protected, the same thing, you define your constructor, right? Now with protected, the same thing, you define your instance variables. But with protected, instead of 2 underscores, you use 1 underscore. That is the difference. Instead of 2 underscores, so here we are going to say dot underscore. That's it. And here we are going to say dot underscore. That's it. So this becomes what? Protected variables. Okay, guys. So meaning we are protecting these 2 instance variables. And these 2 instance variables, how do we access it? We can access it using what? Derived class. That is why I created a derived class here. Okay, the only way you can access a protected variable is using what? A derived class, which is basically what? A child class. So we are saying that, okay, this employee should inherit any attributes that this person has, that this person class what? Has. So basically, if I set, because it's one derived class, I will use the super method. You guys remember this. So now with the help of the super method, and basically once it's a derived class, you first set your constructor, which is basically this. Then now the super method will help you to inherit everything from this what? Parent class, which is the base class. Okay, now this is our derived class, this is our base or parent class, or this is also our derived class, or you can call it child class. So anyhow you use it, you're good to go. Now we use the super to make sure we are inheriting everything this parent class or base class has. Then because it is protected, as I told you guys, the only way you can access protected instance variables, or you can access these and modify them and all that, is what? With the help of what? A derived class, which is a child class. So that is why you are seeing this here. We use a super to inherit it, and then based on that, because we have a derived class here, we can use that derived class, create our object employee, and get anything. So we can get the age, we can get the name, and once I run, I should be able to access this, which is 39. What's the age? I can change this to, let's say, underscore name. All right, and this will be what? The name, which is Jemima. So once I run this, I should get Jemima. You see, so this is how you can access what? Protected variables with the help of what? Derived classes. As simple as that. I hope this is clear. Now when we run our directory, we should see it also part of what? Below the class, because we are able to access it using what? Derived what? Classes, which is child classes. But the only one that is not part here, which will be outside the class, is what? The private variables, which we use what? Getter and what? Setters to access it based on what? The instance methods. So we are going to see it. So now let's go to that one. Okay, let's see how we can use encapsulation with what? Getter and setter. Okay, so I'll come here, encapsulation. Please feel free, if you have any question you need to ask. Encapsulation with getter and setter. Okay, so now basically what we are going to do is the same thing, but let me make it simple. So let's say we have our class person. Okay, so this is our class person. Okay, so now we are going to the same concept, but we are going to look at how we can access private variables, okay, using getter and setter. So it becomes clear, because now you guys know how to access public variables, you guys know how to access protected variables using the derived class, but how do you access private variables? And that is what we call something private access modifier, or private access what? Variable. So let me take you guys through that one. So let's define our constructor, underscore, let's say init underscore into bracket, and let's pass just two parameters as we did up there. So first, don't forget your initializer self, and then we say name, comma, let's say age, right? Then we close it. Now inside this, what do we do? Because it's sorry, because it's private variables, so definitely we say self dot underscore. What do we do? Name is equal to name, right? The same thing, self dot underscore. Oh, sorry. So self dot underscore what? Age. Is it age? Yeah, age is equal to age. You see? So now we've set this self dot underscore name is equal to name, self dot underscore age is equal to age, right? So these two becomes what we call what? Private access modifier, okay, or variable. Okay, the same thing applies to the second one, so that you guys are clear on the explanation. Okay, so let me just comment it out. All right, We good? Okay. So now you see, so this is encapsulation with getter and setter. Class person, we define our constructor, and inside the constructor we have instance variable that are instance to this instance method and also instance to this class. And now we are saying that they are private access modifier or variable because we are setting them with the help of the underscore, they become private access. So it means you need, these are private stuff that you need a special access to it. You understand? So what do we do? Now, how do we get this? How do we get access to this, right? That's the whole goal of our session today. Now, how do we get access to this? So we call something getter, okay? Getter method. Hey, why am I coughing today? Getter method for, let's access the name. So how do we access the name or the age? So any of this, how do we access it? So let's set another first one, getter method for name, okay? And it's very simple. All you need is you define your function, you use the get underscore name. You see, inside like this. It's as simple as that. Because we are not passing any argument, we only use the self, then we come down like this. And because it's a function, what do? We return it. So what are we returning? We are returning what? Yes, who can tell me? So what are we returning? Because here you need to know. Yes, at the comments, sorry, I think I'm still on TikTok. Guys, yes, you can unmute and tell me what do we return here. So we are saying that we want to get the method for name. So what do we return here? Mm-hmm. Yes, who?
Self.name.
So we get self dot what? Is this just self dot name? I want to get the
no underscore.
Yeah, that's the
underscore name.
So self dot underscore name. That's it. So guys, you get the logic. We want to access only the name, so don't be confused here. I'll just want to access the name, so don't worry about the age, okay? And I'm just teaching you in a simple way so you understand. So it comes to when you want to access everything, you know how to access it. So the whole thing is, I want you to be able to access just the name, and I'm using what we call get underscore name into bracket. Then I just pass the initializer so it knows that okay, I want to access a particular thing from this entire class. Now I return just self dot what name, because in function return basically means like you want to print like the result, you understand? But we don't say print blah blah blah. So we use return to make the function understands that okay, you want to return this particular what result. You understand? And basically results are what you get or what you display is being displayed to the user or you the developer. Okay, so basically when I run this, I should get something, right? If I run this alone, I should get, but with the help of my object creation, I should get this. Good. Now let's look at another one. So how can we set method? So let's say setter, okay, setter method for the same name, okay? So setter method for the same name. Now basically the name here, the setter basically means that you are setting another name. It can be a modifier, it can be anything. So that's why we use the word modifier. It's that you are modifying it. You understand? If you are getting, you're not modifying anything, isn't it? But if you are setting something, it means it's either you are trying to modify what is already there. It's like you're updating it, right? So take note of this. So what I can do is the same thing, but this time around, it's the same thing, but this time instead of get underscore name, I will use what? Set underscore what? Name. So I will say set underscore name. You see? Into bracket. And basically, because I'm setting underscore name, this time around, I am going to set something. Guys, let's get a logic here. First, I was just retrieving. I was just getting, so I don't have any issue with any variable or any parameter. You understand? But currently, we are going to set a method for a particular name. So basically, what it tells you that is either you are going to modify or you are going to update something. And what is that thing? Let's say that thing is currently what? The name. So what I will do here is I will just say self, name, period. If you are trying to modify so many instance variables, then you put them there. You get the logic? Currently ours is just one. If yours is more than one, they follow. Okay? Now, So def set underscore name is called self comma name. So because it's a function, I bring my colon. Don't forget. Then what do I do? So I'm setting a name. So I would just say what self dot what underscore name is equal to name. Period. You see, you are good to go. So anything you pass through your objects would make the what modifier update and all that. And then now we know these two. We can do same for the age. So I will just copy like this. Okay, I'll just copy like this and paste it here, and change this to age. Change this to age. Then I'll come here, get underscore age instead of name. You see the logic? Get underscore age instead of name. Here it won't be name. I will say age. You see? Now here will be self, no problem. But here will be age. So you see? Age like this. And here will be age, isn't it? Because we are setting another age. Then here will be equal to age. You see? Then here I change this to be what? Age. Just making some changes. You understand? So now because age, now when we are getting age, okay, when we are getting age, we are good to go. But how do we set method for age? Then there needs to, this is where the programming comes in very well. There needs to be some kind of logic here whereby whenever you are setting age, we all know that, okay, age, we can update age to, let's say, 32, 25. Currently, we have age. When we create our object, we will see. We can update it to anything, right? But what we are saying is that now, age, we need to set the method for age. But there needs to be some kind of condition whereby, let's say, if the age is greater than 0, then we know that yes, then we can get the age. Else, like, you cannot, that age is either negative and we can't do anything. You understand? Because it's very important. So inside this function, you need to set some kind of condition. So let's say if age is greater than 0, then what do we do? So we say that if the age is greater than 0, then we say self dot what? Private, so underscore age, okay? And it's equal to what? Age. Else, what do we do? Else, we do what? We just print age cannot be negative. So we print something out. Oh, I think I repeated this. Oh, okay. I repeated this. So we are saying that if age is greater than 0, okay, self dot underscore age is equal to age, which is clear. Now we come to else. So if else, oh, sorry, I spelled the else wrongly. Else, okay. Else, what do? We print into bracket. Then let me just make it simple. Age cannot be what? Negative. You see? So we are saying that when we are setting our method for age, which is clear, you def this, then you say self dot underscore age is equal to. But because it's something which is sensitive, age, you need to make sure you set a condition. This is where your understanding of the problem you are solving or the project you are working on comes in, whereby you need to understand certain constraints and certain rules. And based on that, we are saying that, okay, we are setting a condition whereby if age is greater than what? Let me even bring a space here. If age is greater than 0, then we can get the age, okay? But if it's not greater than 0 and it's less than 0, then age cannot be negative, period. Because we will have people who will be setting negative 22, negative. So you need to set these things so you prevent these programmatically errors, okay? So what do we do next? Okay, so I think we are done. Now we have been able to set our method, get our method for both variables, and we are good to go. Yes, go ahead.
Now, I'm thinking for age. If somebody's age is 7 and he types 7 in words, can we have something like if probably is digit? I don't know.
Yeah, so that's UI stuff, right? So on the UI, on the user interface, you set that kind of input constraints
Okay.
whereby based on what the person enters, you are able to get the right keywords and sync into the database. You understand? So those are like, what do we call
Okay.
it? UI matters or UI stuff. But when it comes to the programming logic expert, this is the key. You understand? But
Okay.
on the UI, those things you can check it on the UI. And nowadays we all know Bootstrap, so many things that you can use to check on the UI. So that's where the UI UX people comes in. They also understand the requirements and they are able to do these things. But if you are the one doing it at the same time, then you are good to go. You can, once you set this programming well, you set it on the UI as well.
So they will set the validation from the front end.
Yeah. So basically, we set it. We call something MVC, model view controllers. So the view aspect, these things are set there. The controller, this is the logic. The controller is basically the programming logic aspect. You understand? So this is the programming logic. If age is greater than 0, we don't accept it. So on the UI level, the UI UX engineers or managers or people understands this requirements. Then they also proceed further in terms of getting the input from the users. They also set these things there in terms of not setting this, but they set the UI expert in terms of the input, whatever the person will enter. We are not accepting anything rather than, let's say, integers. And we can, in our input here, okay? So classes, I don't need to put inputs here. But on the UI level, on the view level, they will set the inputs there and connect to this function inside this class. You understand? So that when the person enters anything, let's say we want age, but you entered Same, then it runs through quickly in milliseconds and then say error. You need to enter what? Valid what? Number. So you see, sometimes you say enter valid number. So that's what it will tell you, oh, hey, I entered the word, they are looking for age. Then you have to enter 25. So it means we are looking for an integer number. Sometimes we can even go forward and set it as a float. Like we don't need a floating number, which is, let's say, 26.0, 26.2, because we know people can type. So these are all like programming concept. We set it on the view aspect, which becomes the UI UX. You understand? Mm-hmm. So when you are registering forms and all that, go ahead.
Those set age. Okay. So can we use like dev post age? Was it supposed to be set name, set age, get name, get age? Can we use post age?
Yeah, it can be. It can be. Yeah.
It can be any name.
Yeah, it can be any function you set. Yeah. But this is for programming best practices. You make sure it goes according to. You understand?
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So this is how it is, and as I always say, this is the main logic of the project, of the program. The rest becomes the object, which I always tell you guys is the UI expert. So this is where, for instance, Sammy, you can do all these things, but this is for training purpose. We don't do it here. When we get to more whereby we see how we create our own like web interface, and then we set all these kind of all constraints and all these things, then we connect the class to it, then you see how things work properly. Okay. Yeah. So the key goal is, what I want you guys to understand is the programming logic is very important. You need to understand what you are doing here. And based on that, currently we understand that we are getting age, or we are setting age. And if we are setting age, we don't need the age to be less than 0, period. You understand? And as I said, we can go further to make it even accept just input integer values. So we don't need floating numbers. You see? All right.
Sorry, Mr. Darko. Yeah, before you proceed, sorry. So since yesterday, I was just thinking about something. You will show us the Excel sheet when you do the university, and you show us the variables, which are all this age, name, and so on. So I'm thinking, if a variable is protected, you are showing us that this age now. If I go to the database and
no, this is not protected. This is private. This is private.
Sorry, if it is private, is it going to like hash it, or
Oh,
I'll
no,
be
no, no,
able to
no.
see it with my
Database
eye.
concept. No, no, you misunderstood. Understood me. Database concept, okay, is different from you programming in object oriented. But what I want you guys to understand is that database concept is the same thing of how we program database administrations and all that. Is how we program in terms of classes and object, which is object oriented programming. Okay. So in a database, you have the database name, the tables, and then the attributes. You understand? The same thing applies to classes and object, which is object-oriented programming. You have the class name inside the class. You have what? Instance methods. So instance methods becomes your table names. And inside the instance method, you have what? Variables, which are basically the attributes or the parameters. You understand the logic? So
Yes.
yes, so that was why I was trying to explain to you guys that, okay, when you have an Excel sheet, then the name of the Excel itself is what? The database name. Inside it, you have sheets, different sheets, right? You can have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. Now, each sheet is what? The table names. Now, inside each sheet, what do you have? You have the columns, isn't it? And those column names are what? The attributes, the variables. Now, inside the column, what do you have? The data. You understand? You can call it the data, you can call it the observations, you can call it the historical data. Yeah. Okay, so that is how it's been explained, because I need to explain to you guys that the concept in database, the concept in Excel is that same concept in object-oriented programming. And the only aspect you need to understand is the private, the protected, and also the what? The public. And then based on that, you understand how public instance variables are set. You understand how private instance variables are set. You understand how protected instance variables are set in object-oriented programming. So what do you have to do? The rest is for you to understand the requirements, the program, the project you are working on. You understand? And that was why I was explaining to you guys that yes, depending on the project or the problem you are solving, you are the better person to be in a position to know that, okay, these are the variables I need to define in my functions or instance methods. And based on the program, you guys will be able to understand that, okay, I need to define another derived class or a child class. I need to have these people who will be a parent class. This group will be child classes. Then based on that, no, this child class needs to inherit from this parent class. You understand? That is how we program. Okay? And that is the whole idea of the database concept, the Excel concept, and then object-oriented programming. That is why it's good you build everything on a project from the object-oriented programming side, and not just building projects on functions. No. Previously, we were building projects on functions, which is not good. It makes you assessing things difficult. It makes you write so many codes. It makes you not even maintain your codes well. It makes your code not even robust. It makes your code not even it makes your code not even like reusable. You understand? So we are trying to fix these errors. We want our code to be reusable. We want our code to be maintainable. We want our code to be robust in a way that it's not easy for anyone to even come into it. And at the same time, it's not easy for you to just program it roughly. You program it well, robust, so that when applications are built on top of it, or UI UX are built on top of it, everything is well structured. And at any point in time, you are able to make changes to the code. Because remember, when you go to the real world industry, you push code, you are always making changes on the code. You understand? And any developer who picks the codes understand based on the object-oriented programming. If you program in just the functions, definitions, and all that, and variables, and no developer can understand, but they will be like, oh, this is not easy to maintain. So he will need to refactor the entire project, which is bad. You get it? Mm-hmm. Okay, is that clear? Any other? So we can create our objects. So let's go ahead and create our objects, guys. So the same as we did for those ones, let's have an object. So let's say person. I mostly forgot what I was teaching. So person. So let's call the person class, because it is the person class that has the entire methods, instance methods. You see? So that's why I'm using the person class. Inside, what do we do? How many parameters do we have? 2, right? Name and age, isn't it? So I come here. So what name should we give? So this time let's change from Sammy. So let me pick one of your names. So we have Victor, right? What's the age of Victor? Let's say 67. Okay, so Victor is 67 years now. All right, so what do we do now? Let's print them. So what I'm saying is that how do we get this? Now we are going to use what we call access and modify as I wrote up the private variables, okay, using getter and setter. You see? So now if I come here, I am going to say that person dot, okay, what am I getting? Let me get all the name and then the age, isn't it? So I just use the instance method. So you see what I'm going to use? I'm going to use the instance methods. So remember I told you that the only way you can access private instance variables is with the help of what? The instance methods. And these are our instance methods we've created. Period. Simple. Okay? So that's the only way we can access them. Okay? So we are trying to access by getting them. So the same thing, person dot, what do we get? Let's get the age as well. Dot age. You see, it should pull up. If it doesn't pull up, it means something is wrong with your program. So now I can also get let's set them. So I can also say person dot set. Okay, set age. Okay, now because we are setting age, okay, now I can set my age. You know, you guys see that currently this is 67. I can set any age here. You see the logic? So let's say no, Victor is not 67. I'm lying. So Victor, let's say your age is 34, right? Or let me say your age is 36. Okay. Now, so that is a modifier. Once you use set, it means you are modifying it. Okay. So the best practice is always use get, and then you in the private variable comes. You see. So when you use what do we call it? Get, then underscore what? The private variable comes. So always set it like that as your instance method, and you always understand the program, what you are working on. Okay, that is why you guys have seen me doing it. Get underscore, what am I getting? Age. Set underscore, what am I getting? I'm setting an age. Period. Okay, that is why I was able to create these things for you here. You see? So always make sure what you are doing goes according to what the variables you are working with. Don't go outside any variable, else it will work, but you might be confusing anyone who reads your code. Remember, remember your goal is your code needs to be readable, to be maintainable, to be robust. Okay? All right. Now here, person.set underscore age 36, where we are setting a different age for the person. Okay? Which is Victor. Now, what do we do? Let's get the age, right? Because we are setting a new age, so we need to get it. So person dot get age. So inside we get the age. Period. Now, you see the way I'm trying to set things for you. Now the last one is, let's check this condition that we set here. Let's say we want to set an age which is less than what? Which is a negative value. So let's say person dot set age into bracket, let's pass any negative number. So let's say negative 10. Okay. All right. Now if I run this, okay, I should get first the name. Where is it? I said I didn't get any. Oh, sorry. Here I was supposed to be name. Get underscore name. Good. So I should get the name, the age of the person. So the person is what? Victor. What is the age? 67. So I'll first get this. So let me cut this off. Okay. So this is the first thing. If I run this program, I'm going to get Victor and I'm going to get 67. And that is the only way you can access any private variable inside this class, is using the getter method and what the setter method. So this, how am I going to access it? This is what I'm going to show you here. If I run this like this, okay, so the reason why I'm getting only one value here is because I need to use, so I decided to do with this so you guys are aware of certain things you need to understand. So I decided to do with this. Now I need to add what we call the print, so I can get this and this. Okay, I'm looking for two results, but because Python understands that, oh, you're looking for this, oh, and now you're looking for this, no, then let me give you the last one, which is 67, which is the age. But we need the two results to be displayed here. So all you need to do is add the print. Don't forget, guys, always don't forget, add the print. You see, so when I come here, I'll add the print as well. You see, very simple. You add the print. This is it. So now if I run again, I should get the 2. You see, Victor and then 67. Clear. Now, I have Victor and 67. And I'm saying that, no, I don't get this. Like, I want to set something. So let me come down here. I want to set this. No, I don't understand. I want to set age of Victor to be 36. And I want to get the new age of Victor. So I'm modifying it. Do you guys get the logic? Then now, so let me cut this off again. So you understand each concept. So now I'll come here and I'll use the print, because right now you understand I don't need to. No, I'm setting. So if I'm setting, I don't need a print. So get a logic. But if I am getting, then I need a print. So print into bracket. Okay. If you are setting, you are not printing anything. So why do you need a print? You understand? But if I'm getting, then I need a print to see. Okay. All right. Now let's run it. So now we are changing Victor's age, which was 67, to what? 36. So when we run, so you see Victor's age is now 36. You see, it's very simple. Okay, because now we get the new age of Victor. So in a nutshell, what you need to understand is we have what? Modified the private variable, which is attributed to what? The object called Victor. So now we created an object, person is equal to person Victor. So we can pass any other. So that's why I always tell you that this object is connected to the UI. So when you guys are doing the registrations, any person who does a registration, we run through this class. Okay, we run through this class, and then we get you as an object, and then we sync you to wherever we need to sync you, whether the database or anywhere. Okay, all right. So now let's test the last logic in our program, which is we want to set -10. So let's see if we are going to get a response. Okay, let's see. So you see the response we got, age cannot be what? Negative. But you guys saw we were able to set age to be 36, which got us correct. But age cannot be what? Negative, because we have a programming logic condition here for us, which is helping us. So we don't get any negative value set as our age. You see? Good. And this is very simple. When we advance ourselves, you guys will know how we can log these things. We can log them, set them on the UI side, where you don't have to be worrying yourself of any other stuff. Whatever the person enters, you have programmed your project, your software already, so you don't have issue with these things. You understand? So this is how, guys, I wanted to explain to you what we call encapsulation. And with encapsulation, we have private variables, protected variables, public variables, and with the help of getters and setters, you are able to access and modify what? Private variables. It's as simple as that. Okay? So thank you for today.